You are listening to The Art of Sales. Everyone sells every day, and this is your source for conversational, real-world sales and prospecting methods that you are comfortable using and that get results. You'll help people buy instead of pushing them into being sold. Here's your host, Art Subcheck.
Billy Joel and Elton John are two of the most popular and talented musicians, performers, and entertainers of all time. And one, in my experience, is a much better salesperson than the other. Let me explain. I had the opportunity to see them perform together when they were touring together. And this was when I was living in Omaha a few years ago. And they were absolutely amazing. They both sang together to begin the show, and then each performed separately, finally finishing together again with their biggest hits. And the place was just electric. However, in my opinion, one of them very clearly connected with the audience better and received the warmer response. He expertly did things that we also do, or should do, as salespeople and communicators. And that was Billy Joel. Now, don't get me wrong. Elton John was fabulous, and I would pay to see him alone again. In fact, I actually prefer his music. It's just that Billy Joel was masterful in his handling of the crowd. So let me show you how. Now, Elton played his set first. He mentioned the obligatory, it's great to be in Omaha, which drew a big cheer. And that was really about it, though, regarding his rapport with the crowd. Now, after Billy Joel's first song, he stopped, he looked at the audience, and he chatted with several sections of the arena like he was just sitting at the bar with some buddies. He joked with the section behind the stage, and he said to them, "Hey, I bet you thought those were going to be bad seats," which they weren't because there was no back to the stage. And that drew a lot of hoots and laughs. And then he used some local humor, and he was pointing up in the far upper end of the arena. And he said, "You people way up there sitting over in Council Bluffs, thanks for coming." Council Bluffs, by the way, is across the river from the arena over in Iowa. And that comment brought the house down. Now, I'm sure it really wasn't that tough to incorporate the local comment, and it had a huge impact, just like the research that we do when we learn about our prospects and customers. Now, next, he addressed more people up in the nosebleed seats. He said, "Hey, if you can't see me, I'm the guy down here who's 6'4", kind of a cross between Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise, flowing blonde locks." Now, of course, he's pretty much the opposite of all of that. And the crowd roared again. And why? Because self-deprecating humor helps us connect with other people, as opposed to trying to be aloof or a know-it-all in a sales process. Now, Elton John didn't acknowledge the other members of his band, but after each song, Billy Joel introduced one of his many band members by name and where they're from. So it wasn't all about him, just like in sales. It should never be about us. And on top of that, he added more local flavor by making a point to emphasize that one of his guitarists was from Lincoln, Nebraska. And of course, that went over real well. Now, Elton John's piano was stationary on the stage, and his back was to my section on the side of the stage the entire time. In contrast, Billy Joel's piano spun around so that he was facing all parts of the crowd equally. Again, small point about making it about the audience and connecting, contributing to the total impact. I'm always amazed by people who do things that I have zero talent or aptitude for. And musicians certainly fall into that category. I mean, my musical experience consisted of being a disc jockey for wedding receptions and parties during college. And I did over 400 of those in 4 years. And as a result, I still know a lot of songs from that era. And when I go to a concert, like a lot of people, I prefer to hear the songs that I know the words to. And for the most part, these guys excelled in that area, since they have about 1 million hits in between them. Now, however, Elton John played a couple new songs at the time, and one was excruciatingly long, and most of the crowd just kind of sat there politely and quiet, by the way. Billy Joel, however, played only his well-known hits, And he delighted the crowd, singing. The crowd was singing along to every song. Again, it was all about the audience. Reminded me what Kix Brooks of the famous country duo Brooks and Dunn told me. If you saw what I did there, that was a huge celebrity name drop. I actually played golf with them a few years ago during the day of their concert here in Phoenix. A good friend of mine is a good friend of his. And he, by the way, is a very down-to-earth, regular guy, pretty good golfer. We actually tied with 82s that day. And I asked him if he was going to play lots of songs from their new album. And he looked at me and he smiled, and with that slight little drawl, he said, "Art, when you got 16 number ones in the rack, people get pissed if you don't play them." So true, right? So, of course, I can find a way to even turn a concert into a sales situation. And Billy Joel helped the crowd buy him because he made it about us, and he personalized and he customized his comments, and overall projected a warm vibe that made him likable because he genuinely cared about his audience. Sounds like a good role model for sales too, doesn't it? All right, hey, you know what time it is.
Your attitude will be iron every way, you'll never feel what they say. It's the art of the sales quote of the day.
That's right, it's time for the quote of the day. Today's quote comes from Stella McCartney, and not related to Paul as far as I know. Speaking of musicians, Stella is a fashion designer, and her quote does actually tie into what we're talking about, and she says that everyone can do simple things to make a difference, and every little bit really does count. Okay, hey, if you're getting value from this show, I would appreciate it if you would turn 2 new people onto it. Send them to our show site, theartofsales.com, theartofsales.com. And if you'd like hundreds more free sales tips, go over to my blog, which is smartcalling.com, and be sure to get our ebook of 501 sales tips. Thank you so much for investing your valuable time with me. Until next time, go out and make it your best sales day ever. I'm Art Subcheck.